Cheap Cadillacs scare people because nobody wants to buy someone else's repair bill. And honestly, that fear is earned. Cadillac has built some cars that got very expensive once they were old and cheap. But maintenance cost is not random. The trick is avoiding the wrong engines, the wrong trims, and the neglected examples. Do that, and a cheap Cadillac can be a hidden gold mine instead of a trap. Let's count down these absolute gold mines. Number 6. Cadillac SRX 3.6. Start with the SRX because this is the Cadillac most normal buyers can actually picture owning. It is a crossover, it has usable space, it rides comfortably, and it does not ask you to daily drive some giant old sedan just to get cheap Cadillac comfort. Price-wise, this is still one of the easier Cadillacs to justify. Older 2012 examples can sit around the high single-digit range, while cleaner 2016 models often average closer to $12,000 depending on mileage, trim, and history. That is exactly why the SRX is tempting. It looks like a lot of luxury SUV for normal used car money. The part that scares people is the badge. A cheap Cadillac SUV sounds like the beginning of a bad financial decision. And to be fair, the SRX can punish a careless buyer. Headlights, electronics, worn suspension, tired all-wheel drive hardware, and neglected maintenance can turn a cheap one into a very annoying one. But the reason the 2012 to 2016 SRX belongs here is the 3.6-liter V6. It is not exotic, it is not a Northstar. It is a familiar GM engine connected to a 6-speed automatic, and that matters because independent shops understand this setup. The safer configuration is a front-wheel drive 3.6 with normal miles and boring maintenance records. The one to avoid is the neglected all-wheel drive example with electrical issues and a seller saying, "It just needs a sensor." This is not a flawless Cadillac. It is the kind of Cadillac that makes sense only when the history is cleaner than the price tag. Number 5. Cadillac XTS 3.6 FWD. The XTS is the car people ignore because it does not look exciting. It is big, quiet, comfortable, and a little anonymous, and that is exactly why it can be a bargain. Current market averages put many used XTS examples in the low to mid-teens. A 2014 model averages around $13,000 on Carfax, while a 2017 averages around $14,000. That keeps it right in the hidden value zone. Cheap enough to be interesting, but not so cheap that you can ignore condition. This is not the Cadillac for someone trying to look rich at a red light. This is the Cadillac for someone who wants a soft ride, a roomy cabin, and a used luxury car that depreciated because nobody talks about it. The best version is the 3.6-liter front-wheel drive model. Keep it simple. The engine is familiar, the 6-speed automatic is familiar, and the front-wheel drive layout avoids extra all-wheel drive parts that can age into expensive repairs. The scary parts are not usually the basic drivetrain. The scary parts are the luxury car extras: CUE screen problems, suspension wear, electrical complaints, climate control issues, worn interior switches, and big car brake and tire costs. The best buy is a simple front-wheel drive 3.6 with a quiet owner history. The bad buy is a loaded, neglected, all-wheel drive or turbo version that looks cheap because problems are already waiting. The XTS is boring in the best possible way. And in the used Cadillac world, boring can save you money. Number 4. Cadillac CTS 3.6 LFX. This CTS is where you have to be careful because the nameplate has some baggage. Earlier GM 3.6 engines had timing chain concerns when oil changes were ignored, so buyers hear CTS and immediately get nervous. Price is part of the appeal. Non-V 2012 CTS trims on Carfax average roughly $10,000 to $12,000 depending on trim, and 2013 non-V trims land in a similar range. That is a lot of sedan for the money, but it is also exactly where buyers start making emotional decisions. The nervousness is not completely wrong. A cheap CTS with missing records can be a headache, but the 2012 and 2013 cars with the LFX 3.6 are the smarter, older CTS picks. You are getting a better version of the engine, a good chassis, and a car that still feels sharper than a lot of used luxury sedans in this price range. The powertrain to focus on is the naturally aspirated 3.6 V6 with the 6-speed automatic. Rear-wheel drive is the cleaner, long-term choice. All-wheel drive can be fine, but only if the transfer case and differential fluids have not been forgotten. On inspection, listen to the cold start, check oil history, look for leaks, feel every transmission shift, listen for rear-end noise, check tire wear, scan for warning lights, and inspect underneath for rust. The best configuration is a 2012 or 2013 rear-wheel drive 3.6 sedan with records. The one to avoid is the cheaper, earlier car with no oil history. This CTS can be a smart buy, but only when the paperwork supports the promise. Real quick, If this is helping you separate the smart Cadillac buys from the money pits, hit the like button and comment below which Cadillac you think is the most underrated. I read the comments and they help shape the next videos. Subscribe too, because we're all about buying used cars with fewer surprises. Number 3. Cadillac ATS 2.5 or 3.6. The ATS is the fun one, but it is also the one where buyers get tempted into the wrong engine. On price, the ATS is still very much in bargain territory. A 2013 ATS averages around $9,000 on Carfax, a 2014 averages around $10,000, and a 2016 averages around $14,000. That spread makes sense. The newer ones feel more modern, but the older clean ones can be serious value. On paper, a cheap ATS looks great. Rear-wheel drive, sharp handling, compact size, Cadillac badge, and prices that can look almost suspiciously low. But that is where you need discipline. The 2.0 turbo may be quicker and easier to find, but for this kind of video, it is not the cleanest bulletproof choice. The safer route is the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder or the naturally aspirated 3.6 V6. The 2.5 is not fast, but it is simple. The 3.6 gives the ATS the performance the chassis deserves without leaning on turbo complexity. The issues to watch are CUE, screen failure, interior wear, suspension noise, rear differential complaints, oil leaks, coolant leaks, wheel damage, alignment problems, and evidence that the car was driven hard by someone who only maintained it sometimes. The best configuration is a rear-wheel drive 3.6 if you want the full experience, or a rear-wheel drive 2.5 if you want cheap simplicity. The bad configuration is a cheap 2.0 turbo with mods, missing records, and a check engine light. The ATS is not safe because it is newer looking. It is safe only when you choose the less dramatic version. Number 2, Cadillac CTS 3.6. This is the Cadillac that feels like the sweet spot. It is more modern than the older CTS, more premium inside, better looking, and still available for reasonable money if you are patient. The current price picture is interesting. A 2014 CTS averages around $12,500 on Carfax, while a 2016 averages around $16,000 overall. That means the cheaper clean 2014 and 2015 cars may be the better fit for a $15,000 target, while the best 2016 examples can stretch the budget. This is also where the badge can start to seduce people. A 2014 to 2016 CTS can feel like a serious luxury sedan for used family sedan money. That is great until you buy the wrong one. For this list, the answer is the naturally aspirated 3.6. Skip the 2.0 turbo for this theme, and skip the V-Sport because that belongs in a different conversation. The goal here is not the fastest cheap Cadillac. The goal is the one that gives you the best chance of enjoying the car without inheriting a nightmare. Common issues include CUE problems, rear differential noise, suspension wear, magnetic ride costs on higher trims, oil leaks, coolant leaks, and transmission behavior that needs to be checked carefully. The best configuration is a rear-wheel drive 3.6 with clean records and no drivetrain noises. The bad configuration is a neglected turbo, V-Sport, all-wheel drive, or fully loaded example, where every expensive option is aging at once. This CTS is the one you buy with patience, not adrenaline. Number 1. Cadillac Escalade 6.2. And then there's the Escalade. This is the emotional final boss because everyone understands the appeal. Big V8, huge presence, real space, real comfort, and that old-school Cadillac SUV image. The price range is wide, and that tells you everything. A 2007 Escalade averages under $10,000 on Carfax, a 2008 averages closer to $12,000, and a 2014 averages around $16,000. So yes, it can still fit the affordable Cadillac idea, but the cleanest later ones may push past the ideal budget. But let's be honest, this is not cheap ownership. Fuel is expensive, tires are expensive, brakes are expensive, suspension can be expensive. A neglected Escalade can drain money faster than almost anything else on this list. So why is it here? Because underneath the luxury image, this generation is still based on familiar GM truck architecture. The 6.2-liter V8 is the reason it makes sense. The drivetrain is not some fragile, luxury-only experiment. It is big, proven hardware in a big, heavy SUV. That does not mean every Escalade is safe. You need to watch for oil leaks, lifter noise, transmission wear, transfer case neglect, differential neglect, rust, worn suspension, failed air or magnetic ride components, electrical issues, cracked dashboards, towing abuse, and giant wheels that ruin the ride. The best configuration is a stock, well-maintained Escalade with normal wheels and a paper trail. The bad configuration is the cheap modified one with warning lights, rust, worn suspension, and no records. The Escalade is not bulletproof because it is cheap to run. It is durable because the bones are familiar. Buy the right one, and it feels like a win. Buy the wrong one, and the badge becomes the least expensive part of the vehicle. Cheap Cadillacs are not automatically smart buys, but they are not automatically disasters either. Avoid the Northstar cars, avoid the fragile trims, avoid neglected examples. Focus on proven GM-based powertrains, simpler drivetrains, clean records, and a real inspection before buying. The wrong cheap Cadillac will punish you. The right one can make you feel smarter than the market.